Are you a new runner? In today's video, we are going to talk about the biggest common mistakes that new runners make, and we'll dig into several different areas, and I'll go into some of the whys behind it so that you can avoid these common pitfalls and enjoy your training and get to where you want to go. So my name is Jeff Wilson. I have been a running coach for 15 years, and I have been coaching runners. I'm a personal trainer, been coaching kind of general fitness for probably, about the same, about 15 years as well. And ironically, some of these things correlate between even just general fitness and stuff like that, because a lot of times people will get too excited in the beginning of their program, for example, or like a new phase that they're in, new diets, things like that. And that, of course, crosses over because runners need to worry about their diets. But oftentimes, some of the biggest things that I notice with runners isn't necessarily that the problems come from a lack of motivation. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes people don't plan well ahead of time. They don't really have a why. They just kind of start running, and then eventually they kind of lose motivation because they haven't structured some things. But at the same time, I would argue that a lot of the times that some of these things in the list, if they're not looked at or addressed properly, it ends up causing kind of this subconscious issue to where you then fall off a little bit, and then you just kind of start trickling down down the waterfall, if you will. So with that said, mistake number one, I see this in even elite athletes, but running too hard too consistently, or just let's just say too often. Not every run necessarily. I'm not going to over exaggerate, but I've seen it as well. People start kind of getting that early phase where it just feels hard because it's running, but then they get past those few weeks, they're starting to feel good, and then they just they get into their paces too much. They're not listening to their body, this, that, and the other. And I see this in fitness as well. It's remarkable how many times people will kind of get into their training program, do things very quickly, way too hard, and they're not understanding easy and recovery runs. This will be my first video where I put one of those card links. I just did a video like 3 or 4 days ago about this, and so far it's my biggest video, honestly. I got almost 600 views, and I haven't gotten over 100 in any other, so don't judge me. But with that said, a lot of times, getting back to the point, a lot of times people will kind of get into this habit that they need to consistently feel like they're running hard. And it's the same thing in the gym. I'm supposed to be sore. Well, that's actually not true. But mistake number two, doing too much too soon, which I guess I kind of already alluded to that a little bit. But I think that runners will kind of drink through a fire hose right off the get go. I actually had a runner do this not long ago. I had a guy come to me like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and he was like, "You're like kind of typical beginner that had like maybe probably type A personality," and he was just asking literally everything. Like we had just had a session that morning, and he's asking me stuff that kind of overlaps, like as if we didn't touch on it. You can feel the anxiousness behind his messages, wanting to literally order everything, foam roller, this, that, and the other. And it's like, on one hand, as a coach, you're like, cool, this person's ready to go. On the other hand, I've seen it way too many times. Almost all those people drop off early. He quit like 3 weeks later. He was wanting to do more. I was talking him back, this, that, and the other. And it was like, eventually I was just like, hey man, I got to be honest with you. Like, we are so early in this process. We got to be patient. You got to start doing some of the basic, just building mileage, just learning how it feels to run. I mean, he couldn't even run 2 miles in straight. So it was like, and I'm not judging that. It's just, I mean, he was sitting there going, hey, why don't I have longer runs and stuff? It was like, dude, we're not even past the walk run phase, man. And so people will jump into long runs. They'll start trying to do workouts. And they think, again, kind of go back to point one, the heart rate stuff. They'll try to do too much, try to focus on the heart rate, to focus on their pacing way too often. And they won't pay attention to some typical principles of, not that this is, set in stone, but maybe increasing your mileage by no more than 10% week to week, or maybe even your intensity. Not doing both of them at the same time is even more important than either of the ones I just mentioned. Point three, ignoring strength training altogether, or ignoring strength training in terms of real strength training, not just I'm doing something that's like body weight training, this, that, and the other. In some cases, I'm okay with starting somebody out for like a few weeks in that category if they have no experience, no like athletic background or like a sports background or something like that. That can be really important to then start them with just, your typical body weight squats and maybe some light ankle band stuff. Which, speaking, I'll actually put another couple cards up. I just did some different short videos, a couple of just easy things to add into your workouts. As well as a couple banded exercise videos. But strength training is utterly important. In the beginning of getting better at running, you just need to learn, the biggest thing is learning how to run and then learning how to do that sustainably, increasing your mileage, let's say from 4 or 5 miles your first week or two, to then getting a little bit more walk running in to where you're getting in like 8 or 9 miles of this. Or we could go by time. We start with maybe 45 minutes, an hour over the course of the first week, and then maybe get to an hour and 15 minutes at maybe with some walking, or an hour and 30 minutes with some walk breaks and stuff like that. And this is stuff spitballing off the top of my head, but those things are more important up front, yes. However, most people's bodies aren't ready for running. Just being honest with you. I'm going to make that point 4. You can put it in the same one if you want. Most people's bodies are not ready to run. Running is basically an endless series of plyometrics. A lot of times people are not, they're like high school weight, no offense. And you're probably pretty heavy in your calves and your feet, your ankles, knees, and most likely hips, low back area. You're probably not that strong unless, of course, you've been coming from a different place where you've been doing something athletic for a long time and you're just transitioning to this, or you've been somebody that's been consistently going to the gym for a while, and then you're just like, hey, I really want to get into half marathons. Where do I start? It's like, okay, that's a little different. But if you're like a beginner and you haven't done much more than just like some yoga, group fitness classes or something like that, depending on what that is at the end, like when you really dissect it, there's a high probability that your body just isn't ready to start going 4 or 5 miles on a run in the next several weeks, even if it feels like you're progressing normally. Your joints, your ligaments just aren't prepared for that type of pounding and that type of push off. And depending on what your height and weight is, I mean, those are huge factors that get overlooked. And so strength training, getting in big movements like squats and deadlifts, even if we have to start with some of the more basic like dumbbell versions of them, is huge. So I can't emphasize it enough. You'll see a lot of that kind of stuff on my channel. And then I've got a couple more on my notes here. Now, point 5, comparing yourself to everybody else. I think this is a good life lesson. I have a hard time with this myself. I'm going to be really honest with you. This is probably the most important one on here. I didn't think about that to this degree when I wrote these down. When you're starting out, there's stuff with Strava. Strava's great. It's great. Nice little social media thing for runners. Woo woo. Being with friends, being in community, it's great. But oftentimes people just base their training off of wanting to run with certain people and they're not ready to do it. Sometimes it can be the other way where you're kind of slowing yourself down too much. I mean, in the very beginning, I'd rather somebody be on the err on the side of caution or the side of slower, but I truly believe that people mess this up all the time. And here and there, hey, I'd rather have people running with community than sitting there worrying about an exact pace or something. But base that decision, like let's say that I used to go on this Wednesday night run in the summers, base that decision of that day off of what was your last few days like and what are you supposed to do tomorrow. And if you're not planning on those things, or if you're not looking ahead, or you haven't like reassessed, okay, I had to messes up. My phone ran out of space and there was still 3 minutes left on it. So I apologize. I don't remember exactly where I was at, other than just how big of a deal comparing yourself is. I see it way too often. There's too many people that sit there and worry about other people's paces. You need to be worried about you and your training. Please don't forget this. And my last mistake that people make quite often is they just look at too much random advice. So somebody might watch this video and then go scrolling to the next one, and they pick out one of the things I said, go to a video about that. The person extrapolates further. Maybe it's beneficial. I don't mean like this video is the most special video on the planet or any other one, but people take way, way, way too much just seriousness from like a smorgasbord of social media. And that, I'll be honest with you, like you have to have a plan that is made for you and not just random advice going like, you take like some of those YouTube psychology clips and then throw it into run coaching and stuff. Like you should like a slide, like a carousel thing on Instagram and it has like 5 tips. If it's just simply like, if I was to make that right now, I would basically just make a synopsis of each one of these points and whatever. But some of these may not be applicable to you, even just a few months down the road, but you might still be following it, or you might go to another video or something like that. And you're like, well, I think I need to be running more. So they just click on a video of that and they don't necessarily dig into or look back at their plan, like look back at your Strava, look back at all your results and actually assess, does this make sense? And I could say, I'm going to make a video on just this. This makes me happy just even thinking about it. And so anyway, just remember some basic stuff like more is not always better. Don't always think that your friend's got it figured out or this person that you're running with has got it figured out. Do you get a coach, get a plan, and most importantly, have fun with this. Enjoy running. It is one of the most enjoyable things that you can ever do. Just get past the hard part, and I promise you, you'll love it.